This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Babies cry, and that's normal. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to step away. Never shake a baby. Shaking can kill, and 1 in 4 don't survive. Survivors often face permanent brain damage. Learn more and give today at nevershakemn.com.
Couple 13-14 past. I'm Calm, and he's 10 to be excited and delighted to be joined by Chip Scoggins. He and I text and talk more than most people know. We spent countless hours in basketball gyms all across the metropolitan area watching Eastridge High School hoops. He's a columnist for what I affectionately call the Fish Wrap Factory on the west side of the river. Though, Chip, are there more people that read the Star Trib on their phone than they actually do with a regular old-fashioned newspaper?
Yeah, I would
have to think so.
Right? I think we officially have more digital subscribers than we do print subscribers. So it is a new world that I live in.
And does that make much of a difference for? I mean, because with the newspaper, you have to have a deadline because they have to print it, go to the printing press, put it out.
Yeah, and there's not a quote unquote deadline for digital, but our editors don't want to be there till 2 a.m.
Right.
We don't want to be there, so there is a kind of a artificial deadline. But yeah, it's the newspaper industry. We're not the only newspaper going through it. Obviously, the whole industry has been turned upside down and shifted towards the digital, being a digital company. And so it's obviously a huge change because, people our age grew up holding the newspaper in their hand and that's how we consumed it. And so to not have that, I mean, we still have it, but not have the 20-page sports section like we're accustomed to.
Getting the
box scores and
like Barrero says, they call it ink-stained wretch because when you would read the newspaper, you'd get the ink stains all over your fingers, right?
So, and it's, and the deadline's going to be earlier. I mean, we announced, I guess a month ago or so that they're closing our printing plant here downtown and moving it to Iowa. So we're going to have much earlier deadlines next year. And so that'll change it too. It'll be hard to, if you're covering a game and a 5 o'clock deadline, not going to make the print.
Yeah, that's for sure. We may have talked about this last time, Your Honor, maybe before, but I want to touch on it again. The Star Tribune has really made an effort to. They're putting a lot of emphasis on high school sports.
Oh yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a big change.
New brand, yeah. And newspapers have. I don't know how long it's been, but they've really discovered that high school sports, because it's original content, because there's so many high schools, because just the intention and passion that people have for it, and your kids play it, and so they realize that is a huge readership driver, and so we have really doubled and tripled down on our coverage. We have a whole new brand, Strip Varsity. I mean, the resources they've thrown at in terms of just the new website they have, streaming. Hiring new people, new reporters, new editors, new video. We have a new video person. So it is a major, major emphasis for the Star Tribune, this Strip Varsity push.
Let's start with what you wrote about today, or maybe it came out last night or yesterday afternoon. Links. That was
unbelievable.
It kind of came out of. I mean, I was kind of assuming it was almost not a foregone conclusion they would win the WNBA title, but with the Liberty out, it kind of looked like this club's been the best team all year, and then all of a sudden, boom! They got it. They have a 1-0 lead. They blow a 1-0 lead. They win the first game. They blow a 20-point lead, lose the game, and then game 3, it all comes totally apart. They have Reeve melts down after Fiji gets her pocket pick. She gets knocked to the ground. She charges out Reeve at the officials, screaming at fans. And then just tore apart, the officiating in a news conference. She's fined. She's suspended for a game. And then Fiji comes out yesterday, and she takes the league to task as well.
I'd never seen a athlete be that direct and that blistering in their criticism of a commissioner. And I was actually over at the Trier Rink. They're having a press conference with Krill announcing his extension, and then I happened to check my phone. And I saw this. I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to switch topics here. Obviously this is a big story with the Wild and the contract they gave their superstar, but it was so outside of anything I've seen with particularly everything that led up to it. But for a superstar to be that frontal at the league and their commissioner, I just hadn't seen anything. And I think when you talk about the series, to me that series was lost in game 2, and I covered that game. They had every opportunity to win that game and just completely gave it away. I mean, the 5 seconds not getting the ball, inbounded, not fouling when they should have when they're up 3. I mean, it was just like 10 things had to go wrong for them to lose it, and they did all 10 of them. And then I think that probably contributed to Reed's anger. Obviously, the physicality and all that. That's been boiling, but I think they saw their opportunity slipping away of this season that looked magical, that looked like it was going to end with a championship parade in the 5th championship, and that was slipping away. So, but yeah, it's as I wrote today. The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA, is going to expire, I think, October 30th. Good luck with those negotiations. I mean, can you imagine that commissioner when they're about to start their WNBA finals? I think on Friday. Handing that trophy over, knowing all, and I don't know if you've seen the reaction, but pretty much around the league, players are coming out and saying, we support Fee, we feel the same way, and they're, voicing their criticism too of this commissioner who, you go back to last year where she wore the New York Skyline dress to the last game, which is just remarkable lack of awareness, self-awareness. I mean, for a commissioner to do that tells you really doesn't have the pulse of the what's going on in her league. So I think there's going to be a work stoppage. I mean, with how angry, even though she said it forcefully, but her Fee's words called it the worst leadership in the world, negligent, tone deaf, all these words that she used, that tells me the divide between the players and the league is far greater than we even, thought was there. And you knew it was because of, the shirts they wore at the All-Star game pay us what we're worth. Right. And that they want more money and more larger cut of the revenue. I don't know if they're going to be able to bridge that gap. Yeah. I'm not going to be surprised if there's a work stoppage.
And I don't want to put you on the spot because I don't know if anybody even has any idea how much does the WNBA generate. Are they generating so much money and the players aren't getting their fair share? I've always been led to believe that the NBA basically in the ownership, they subsidize. That's still the case?
I think so, yeah. And I'm not an expert on their finances. I don't think it turns a profit yet, but I think it's trending that way because when you look at attendance going up and sponsorships. And I think just yesterday or the day before they announced a new TV network deal. I don't know the particulars of that, but that sport is growing. I mean, we've seen it.
Right.
And, obviously with Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers and Angel Reese, these new stars coming in have brought more attention and money to it. So, but I don't know the bottom line where they are finances. But I think the players are looking at it as like they understand that it is growing and that there is more attention and they see the arenas are being, there's more fans there and there's more sponsorship. So I think they're asking for a larger percentage of the revenues.
Okay.
Chip, one question. I haven't really heard anyone talk about this. I'm not doubting Nafisa Collier's sincerity in any way, shape, or form. But she did also found like another basketball league, right? So there's like another layer here of like, well, she's just doing this to prop up her own league and wants that one to take over. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems a little weird when a person who's running another basketball league is now criticizing this league.
Yeah, Brandon, and that has come up in previous reports that her and Breanna Stewart co-founded the Unrivaled. It's the 3-on-3 league that plays out of season, but there is that talk Is it a conflict of interest? Because if there was a shutdown, that obviously would benefit that league probably because the sponsorships and fans would pay more. I understand that. I don't know Fee that well. I've covered her, periodically. I think her intentions are for the good of the game. I think she has commanded that respect. I think the way people know her, that it's for the better of the game and not this alternative thing.
And quickly, before we go to break, and you're with us for the whole hour, do you think there would be any more fallout with Reeve? I don't
think so.
Okay, yeah.
I think I think she was rather subdued yesterday, is what people said. I think it's probably done from her perspective.
Very good. Let's take a break. We got plenty to get to. We got the Kaprizov. Baldelli gets fired. Vikings, not sure what direction they're headed. So plenty to get to. And the Gophers. That was a fun game. They played against Rutgers. Take a short break. Come back. Tanny B, you've got a national cash contest keyword, I think.
Yeah, the fan in 2 minutes, a junk truck. Want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword deposit at KFAN.com now for your shot of winning. That keyword, deposit. Enter now at KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is presented by 2 men and a junk truck.
Chip Scoggins with us in studio here on a Wet Blanket Wednesday. Did you ever have any doubt that Kaprizov would sign or not?
No, I didn't. The thing is like he's a great player, and it wasn't like whatever he had the leverage, right? The Wild were going to have to pay him, whatever it was. I mean, you couldn't risk losing him. And the longer it went, I did have this thought. I'm like, because I'm trying to figure out, was it money? Was there something else that maybe he wasn't satisfied? I was like, well, maybe he wants a shorter term, than the 8 years. I thought I would be willing to do that if I was the Wild, because to me, it's like he's not.
I agreed 100%.
He's not.
That's what I was hoping would be.
Yeah, the way I looked at it the whole time is like, if he was 19 or 20, I wouldn't want a shorter term. He's 28. So if you say, if you said I want 5 years, I'd be like, okay, perfect. But it clearly wasn't that. I mean, he sounds like they had to up the offer to get him, and that's part of negotiating. But I never thought that the Wild would not sign him from their end, because then what? He built this whole premise on having one of the best players. And the thing where I didn't think that he would take it, ride it out, even though he said he didn't focus on, he wasn't worried about injuries. That is a lot of money to risk an injury. Now, he's under contract this year, right, and so he would still be getting paid. But you think about all that money, you would be at jeopardy of. Yeah,
if you get a major injury.
Is it still going to be there next year?
That's right.
So I always thought his deadline was the regular season, that you wouldn't want to go into the regular season without that financial security. So I thought it would get done. I didn't think it take this long, but I didn't think that the end result would be him not being here.
Right. And, then and while the organization's relieved, fans are, maybe even some relief with Kaprizov, even though he probably figured he was coming here one way or the other. It's the old, now can you put enough around him? Yeah. One player is not a teammate. Can you put enough around him? Or do you get into another Parisi Suter thing where you get Parisi and Suter? Then, the Wild had some good clubs with Parisi and Suter, but never a club that could make a run at a championship.
Yeah, and I asked Billy that yesterday at the press conference. I said, okay, this is obviously the biggest piece, but now you have to continue to build around Kirill, so this is going to lead to what you hope is a championship. And he said, yeah, absolutely. He said, his exact quote was, the work is not done, and it's on him now. He did say they have the financial flexibility, because I think the cap's going to go up, and obviously they come out of the Parisi Suter punishment. But they have to continue to build around him as best they can, and some of that's got to be some of the young guys, the young talent that they have, that they're going to have to progress and become the kind of players that they think. But just re-signing him, as Billy said, is not. They haven't reached the finish line. Now they got to build that thing to where you feel like it is a legitimate championship trajectory that they're on. And
that was the good news. And then on the same day, there was the news that Zuccarello out for Tennessee. Is that months? It looks like
I think he's 7 weeks.
7 8 weeks. Yeah. And he's a line mate of Kaprizov.
And we've seen their chemistry and how they work together. Yeah, so it's, as Billy said, and Hines said, this is an opportunity for someone else to jump up. But this is the thing. It's like, injuries happen. Like, you can't just, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, obviously the Vikings are going through this, but yeah, they got off to a good start last year. Hines said yesterday that he feels like this camp in some ways have been even better because it was last year was really kind of taxing training camp, and he felt like that helped him, and he felt like this is even better. So let's see if they get off to a good start. But I do think, even though I don't know how much the contract thing would have affected Kirill on the ice, but you're human. And then to have that hanging over you, just to have that done and clear the air and kind of just say, okay, that big issue is resolved. Now it can just be hockey. I do think there's going to be some benefit to that.
Your other winter pro sports club, the Wolves, they're getting ready to start the season as well. What's your what's your take on?
Coming off back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances. Obviously, I think the one thing, they just had their media day on Monday, and it sounds like the word continuity was mentioned 9 million times. But I think there is something to that. I mean, obviously, the last couple of years, it's been just, not turmoil, but just major change in their structure and what the roster looks like and how they're going to play.
And then last year, Cat goes,
yeah,
and they bring in
Randall and
Vincenzo. Yeah.
And you could tell that it took them, half a season, more than that, to kind of figure out what they are, how do they play together. I know Julius mentioned early in the season last time, basically him and Ant ran to the same spot and tried to post up, and they're like looking at, they had to figure out, they had to learn how to play off each other, how they are going to fit. And that's hard when you're doing that in the season. I mean, it was clunky early. It just took them time. So they don't have to mess with that now. They know who they are. Now they are incorporating these young guys, 3 or 4 new young guys into the mixing, but they know who they are, what their identity is, and how to play together. So they don't have to go through that again. But the West is tough. I mean, goodness gracious, that conference is tough. So but they should be one of the best teams again.
The new kid from France, Béranger, I think that's how they say it. People are pretty high on this kid. He's really only played basketball for like 3 years. Big kid is. Gobert's kind of his role model. Jim Pete, in a podcast, I think, talked about how he was blown away by how good this kid is already. I think a lot of people thought he might start G League, but, and this was not knowing anything about him other than he was from France and how to pronounce his name. But I thought, well, if this kid's got these tools that they say, and he has played 3 years, I'd let him play up here right now. It's not like, my example I use is, in football, if you play Dallas Turner and he makes 1 or 2 mistakes, that can cost you a game. And that one game maybe could cost you a playoff spot. In basketball, if you put the kid out there and he makes a few mistakes in the first quarter, you pull him out, talk to him, put him back in the third, he's probably not going to cost you a game. Yeah. And so I just think it's easier to let a guy learn the ropes while playing with the big club rather than the G League.
Yeah, it's interesting when they drafted him, I thought, okay, 3 years down the line, we'll see what he, I didn't think it would happen this quickly, but everything everybody says is like, wow, he's maybe a little more developed than we thought. And so, but this will be interesting for Chris Finch because we've seen how he is with young players, and he tends to have a short rotation. So we'll see how if that changed this year, or what his plans are for these young guys.
One other thing I saw, it was either in your paper or The Athletic, about there's an emphasis from the team within to get Ant to play even better defense. Did I see that?
I think more consistent. Because we've seen him when he wants to shut someone down, he does that.
Yes.
But can you do that, as someone said, in a random game in February, and it's not a high-level opponent? Can you do that consistently?
Yeah. And I think that's what they need to see from him, because that's kind of the next step for him, because he has gotten incrementally better as time has gone.
In a lot of things.
Yeah, in a lot of things. We'll take a break. We'll get to some Gophers, the Baldelli firing in the Vikings. We'll do that next. Chip Scoggins in studio with us here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Hassan Minaj and Ronnie Chang hate each other, and they're taking it public. Catch Hassan Hates Ronnie, Ronnie Hates Hassan at the Orpheum Theater Saturday, November 1st. 2 comedy legends, 1 epic roast battle. Enter for your shot at a pair of tickets today at KFAN.com. Keyword contest.
Scoggins with us for one more segment. Thanks for sharing the hour with us. We do appreciate it. I'm Common, he's Teneby, and then Chip Scoggins, of course. Rocco Baldelli, the Twins, I don't know. I don't need to they decide to cut payroll after going to the playoffs. It's bad. They have a 13-game winning streak earlier in the year. Looks like, hey, maybe they're onto something, and then they go in the tank, and then they do the fire sale, and the season ends, and a couple days after, Baldelli gets fired.
I thought it was the least surprising move that was going to, could happen. There's no way they were going to run this back without something significant happening. I mean, with having the lowest attendance since 2000, somebody was going to take the fall for it. And it's as I wrote in my column, it's a tale as old as time. The manager takes the fall for it, right? Yeah. And we can argue whether fair or not fair. When you miss the playoffs 4 times in 5 years and you're the manager, you're probably not going to keep your job. Now, to me, that doesn't send accountability high enough up the ladder. To me, this is Derek Falvey's plan. This is his roster. He's not going to fire himself,
right?
And the ownership clearly must feel like they have enough faith in him that
I think they like him. Yeah.
So, so Baldelli becomes the guy who gets fired because of it.
Well, when we were talking about it, Tenebee's theory was they wouldn't because they don't want to pay 2 salaries, and I tended to agree with that. I thought that they're just going to let it go, but like you say, it's so bad now with attendance as low as it was. I've never seen the fans revolt quite like this. That it would have been just to do nothing, and I don't even know if this will do anything. I don't, who do you hire and
if you're a managerial candidate and you walk in there, isn't your first question, why did you gut your roster and trade all your players and then hold your manager accountable? Like, what are the expectations for me here coming in? How would you explain that to them? Other than we wanted to shed payroll and we're trying to operate this cheaper than we were. Right. I mean, that's the only. So now I just, in my 26 years here, I don't think I've ever seen this I know I haven't seen the fan base this angry, this turned off by the organization. I don't know how they undo the damage that they've done right now. Winning obviously helps, but I don't see that happening next year. And
well, they have to completely rebuild the bullpen. A lot of their younger players, they have
to come through.
Well, and the one thing when in reading a lot of the analysis of it, the one thing you could say is a manager supposed to get more out of these young players, or these young players overrated, because we had a lot of guys that were considered these. I mean, I guess I just read again that we are considered the second best minor league organization in baseball, but the Larnacks and
Royce Lewis,
the Royce Lewises, and then who are some of the
well, you go down the list. Brooks Lee. I mean,
name
Warner.
after name. Yeah, exactly. They've shown
flashes,
but nobody's been like, this is a guy we can count on. To be a mainstay in our roster, in our lineup for 5, 6, 8, 10 years.
Who's a foundational piece out of there that you say right now 100% is a foundational player?
It was supposed to be Lewis, but he's injury prone, and he's when he has been healthy lately, he's been struggling.
Yeah, and so to me, that's field stuff. I mean, that's there's just been not enough. There've been, as I wrote in my column, there's too many underwhelming performances and not enough development from these young guys. And so it's not like Rocco was, he really got a bad deal.
Right.
Here. No, I mean, he, shares the blame in this too. But I always think when it's this bad and they're this far off course, you go to the top.
Yeah. And
this is a Polad and Falvey problem.
And I don't know what the solutions are, because I don't expect them, and spending boatloads of money isn't a cure-all. We've talked about that over and over and over again. It certainly doesn't hurt if you spend more money, especially on proven free agents. But I don't see them doing that, and I don't know if their farm system really is that good, and how long does it take to develop. And now they have really no bullpen. Their starting staff, Joe Ryan, seems to be really down on the whole thing. He had he came out with the comments about he was annoyed that they didn't sign Sonny
And he
Gray.
wasn't the same since the trade deadline.
Right, exactly. And
Pablo's coming back.
Yeah, Pablo's probably coming back, but he's had a couple of injury things. And so, I guess you have if you look at those two guys, if they both stick around, you have the makings of a 1-2 punch in the starting rotation.
If they keep them.
Yeah, if they keep them. And then the everyday players, they got some guys with some promise. But,
how long have we been saying that, though?
Well,
that's the thing.
That's it.
I mean,
exactly
and I go back to, yes, that's great that MLB.com ranked them their farm system number 2, but when is the payoff for that? Like, there's no guarantees that that's going to lead to anything, just as there was no guarantees. I went down to Chattanooga, I think it was 10 years ago, and down there this was when they were the AA affiliate. Buxton, Sano, Kepler, Polanco, Barrios. This was this, Fab Five magic group that's going to come back and come up. By the time they get here, it's going to lead to these grand things. There's only one guy left.
Yep.
Buxton.
That's it. And he finally had his.
He had a great
year. This was his best year ever.
Great year,
He stayed healthy the entire time. Did he hit 40 home runs? He was close.
Yeah, I don't know his final stats, but his best year. He's great. Yeah. And so there's no guarantee. And even if they do pan out, you're talking 4 years, 5 years. I mean, this is a dark time for that organization and trying to figure out how they, get back to being competent.
They have to rely on, I bring this up a lot too, about the family of 4 or 5 that they're not really.
It's the ballpark.
Yeah. It's
an outing.
It's an outing. That's it. It's just, it has nothing to do with, if you're winning or losing. It's the old 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. If the home team doesn't win, it's a shame. They don't care. They'll still go to the game and maybe go to 1 or 2. That's because the hardcores, I think, are pretty fed up with those.
Well, it is. I mean, we say the lowest attendance since 2000 when they're Metrodome. I mean, and I don't know what their season ticket base is, but it's dwindled. So yeah, it's I would not want to be the one trying to sell season ticket packages right now.
What do you golfers start out with a couple of gimmies, I guess, to start the season? Then they play Cal.
Played poorly.
Yeah,
very poorly.
Yeah, really bad there. And then they play Rutgers, and
they play good.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those games where it's a coin flip game, and there's a number of these on the schedule, and you need to win those, and that's going to determine if this is a 6-win, 7-win, 8-win. I mean, because there's a couple games you say, okay, they're going to be heavy underdogs. A couple they were heavy favorites, and then a bunch of games where you just have to play well and win, and this is one of them. And the young quarterback Drake Lindsey, you watch him, the more you watch him, like, he is really good. Yeah. I mean, he is talented. The thing that stands out to me the most is just how mature and poised he looks. He does not look like a guy who's only started 4 college games. Doesn't look like a freshman. He had that Saturday, what I call like the first gotta have it drive, where they're down 6 minutes left. They don't score a touchdown there. They may lose, and then all of a sudden, what are we talking about? They've lost 2 in a row. Mm-hmm. And he just, boom, 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 right down the field. Yeah. 6 of 7, 72 yards. He's accurate. He's got a big arm, obviously. He's a big kid. But it's just his poise, and just overall, when you watch him, he's like, he seems like he's in total control out there. Now, obviously, huge step up in competition and talent, what he's going to see Saturday at Ohio State. So that'll be a huge test for him. But I've liked what I've seen from him so far. And I like that PJ, what we saw for him last year with Max Brosner and trusting his quarterback and allowing the quarterback to make plays, you're seeing that carry over with Drake Lindsey. Yeah, because they were always running team. Mm-hmm. That was all they did, was try to ball control. Yeah. What was interesting about the Rutgers game, though, too, was what our conversation would have been like now had the kid not snapped the ball before Cali McManus was ready, because they were driving. They were in a perfect spot, and Cali McManus didn't know it was coming, went right between his legs, and they ended up losing yards. But that's the thing; it did happen, and that's it. That's football. But that's college football, right, and it's just it is the Big Ten, and he's the expanded Big Ten. There's so many of these teams that are bunched together. There's not a real big difference between, I would say, 13 or 14, 12 or 13 of these teams. Yeah. It's just, do you make the plays and win the one-score games? And that determines whether it's a good season, a bad season, or a really good season. Yeah, you have Ohio State, Oregon, and I guess Penn State, right? No, they left on schedule. They're at Oregon. No, but I mean, those are the three. Those three. Yeah, those are three. That's kind of your 3 best teams, right? I don't think Michigan is. No. They're good. They're good, right? But it's like, how good is Indiana, do you think? I underestimated them big time. Okay. I mean, that win, back-to-back weeks. Okay, what they did against Illinois opened everybody's eyes. I thought Illinois would go in there and win. They absolutely got ran off the field. How physical Indiana was, and also their speed, just absolutely overwhelmed Illinois. But then I was like, okay, you have this emotional high, and then they have to go to Iowa this past Saturday. And it's like, that's not a great Iowa team, but that can be a hard place to win. And they go in there and win after a big emotional, they don't play their A game, but they find a way to win. That to me was, I don't know if equally impressive, but it was impressive. They're good. I mean, they could be, I think they have a couple hard games left. I think they play maybe Oregon, maybe Penn State, but they could be a playoff team again.
Your Tennessee club. They could be a playoff team.
Yeah, they had a heartbreaking loss to Georgia. That was, I had to go for a long walk around our neighborhood there. I was walking down the street, and some guys, they must have been watching the game. I had my Tennessee shirt on. They pull over, and the guy's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you'll get that. I always got that as a Lions fan. I get that a lot. I'm so sorry. And I guess we'll wrap it up with Vikings. I don't know what to make of the season. A lot of high hopes. You rebuild the interior, the offensive line, the interior, the defensive line. You got a rookie quarterback that the organization is really high on. He's not a rookie, but he is essentially a rookie. Then you have that first 3 quarters against Chicago is awful. Then he has a brilliant fourth quarter. He's NFC Player of the Week. He's not very good against Atlanta. They lose. They bounce back and win a game against the Bungles, and they dominated the Bengals. Yeah. And then they lose last week, and I don't. And the injuries, the center. I don't know what to make of the club. It doesn't feel good right now.
It feels chaotic, because of the injuries, and I don't know that they're going to be able to be consistent if you're starting 3 backup linemen, because it is such a big drop from what they thought they were going to have to what it was at the end of the game last Sunday. And I tell you, I think probably most disappointing. Obviously, the injuries are disappointing, but their run defense. Yeah. Like what I didn't expect them to be this poor. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, great player. Mm-hmm. You got to acknowledge that. But for them to get...
The Steelers were not considered a good running team going into the game in any way, shape,
worse. And they were down a running back. Yeah. And so for them to me, that's probably been one of the biggest disappointments is just what their run defense has happened to them. So I just think with their injury situation... backup quarterback, where they're at there, I just think it's going to be probably pretty hard for them to be consistent and run off, get on a real roll here unless they could get healthy quick.
What do we make of Dallas Turner? I don't know. It's starting as each week goes by. I mean, he's still young, and it's not, but it's not that impact that you kind of think you'll get with a 17th.
No, it hasn't been. And I thought maybe more reps, you'll see it. We came back in great shape. He put on a lot of weight and muscle, but it hasn't been the splash plays that you thought you would see. So, he needs to get more.
Then you play Cleveland, and that's
defense.
Their defense is good. So, but even let's just play that.
Myles Garrett didn't practice today, by the way.
Oh, he did.
Ankle.
Okay. So let's go with Vikings. Let's just for argument's sake.
And they're starting a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, right. 3-2, get a bye week. And then it's that meaty part of the schedule where you have Philadelphia, I don't know if it's this order, but the Philadelphia, the Chargers, Detroit, and then now Baltimore. I don't know what to make of them, though I still think they're dangerous, especially if... I
think they're better than the record, which is weird to say, but right. You are what your record says you are.
Yeah, but so you get into those 4 games, and then you don't know if McCarthy's back. You would think the way they're talking, he's making progress.
Supposed to practice, yeah. It'll be interesting, and I'm kind of a fence sitter on this one because to me, this whole season is about learning what you have with your quarterback. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not going to learn about it if he's sitting watching Carson Wentz. But do I want to put him out there with 3 backup offensive linemen and risk ruining his confidence? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm ecstatic about that. So this will be a tough decision, I think, for Kevin O'Connell to see how he handles it. But I think it's all predicated on what's happening around the quarterback. Yeah. What does his line look like? How are they, are they able to protect him? Because you just don't want to get a situation where he's getting pressured 40% of the time, like what we're seeing. So but I still think you have to go back to him. You have to see, you drafted him for a reason that high. Mm-hmm. This whole season was to let him learn, grow, be through these situations. Obviously, the timing is weird because this 4-game stretch coming up, but I still think you go back to him there. Even
Well, the counter argument to be, and Tinneby and I discussed this, and I kind of lean toward this, that, and again, maybe now it is a moot point because Wentz he's been okay, but he certainly hasn't been. But what if he would have been really good and led you to a couple of wins, and let's say they would have won last week and they win, then all of a sudden you go, you got a lot. You
don't mess with a good thing.
Yeah, your window's open. I mean, you were certainly you made those moves in the on the offensive defense line because you felt like when you're coming off a 14-3 season, you feel like you're ready to compete and win. Right, the window's open and let's go.
Yeah.
And if you have a veteran quarterback like Wentz, rediscover something, maybe it harkens back to that year that they went to the big game. Well, then do you go, kid, I know you're our quarterback of the future, but I ain't going to fix what ain't broke. Would you have been okay with that? Or?
Yeah, I think that's a totally different circumstances. If they would have gone on there, offense is rolling, Wentz is rolling, you've won 2 games. I mean, I think that's a different conversation because I tend to think you don't mess with a good thing when you got momentum and it's clicking. This is not that case, as we saw. I mean, it was an epic struggle there for a lot of that game Sunday. So I think the opening there, but I think it is, you do have to think about, are you putting McCarthy in a good situation with where your line's at?
Yeah. Well, and, truth be told, going back again to if Wentz had played well and you bench him because you want to play McCarthy, you got other veteran players on that team that go, I know, coach, he's your hand-picked guy and you love him and you want him to be the future, but I'm out here giving everything I got and I'd kind of like to win now.
Well, that's it. I mean, that is the conundrum, is like, this roster was constructed not for 3 years from now.
Right.
It's built to win right now. And yeah, if things were rolling, that might be a hard conversation to tell some of these veterans that, hey, we're switching to the young guy, even though things are going great. So, but O'Connell's, he has such a good pulse on these things.
Yeah.
And my belief is these things tend to work themselves out on the field or on the court. We always worry about, how's this going to happen when he comes back? Those things generally solve themselves. And so, yeah, I would think they win. Obviously, Myles Garrett, if his situation would impact it greatly, but that's a good defense.
Yeah.
Their offense starting a rookie quarterback, I got to imagine Brian Flores will probably confuse him some. I would think they'll come back with a win there.
It's obviously very, very early in his career. Heck, he's only played two games. But, McCarthy, 1 great quarter, 7 not very good.
Yeah.
Does that leave you any cause for concern?
No. It's just 2 games. I mean, it wasn't, but he certainly looked like the game was happening at warp speed for him. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just seems like everything's super fast for him. He looked indecisive. He's holding the ball. He's not seeing it clearly. Some of that's him and probably just his inexperience. Some of that's the offensive line injuries and they're, being leaky and getting pressure on him. So obviously it wasn't good other than the 1 quarter in Chicago, but it's so early. I wouldn't say, well, let's panic. I mean, I still think from what I've seen him in camp, from just being around him, I still think, it's all there. It just he has to go through this. Yeah. And he has to, he's going to go through his tough times. But again, that's what I always come back to is he's not going to learn sitting on the sideline. And you could say, it helped Jordan Love.
Yeah.
But I just don't think there's...
Well, he's been on the sideline for an entire year. He did that last year watching Darnold.
I think you want to on the field to go through these things.
Yeah.
So the game does slow down, and he does see it, and he does get used to these situations.
I know one of the things last thing for you is, you're focusing on football around the state and such like that. You're doing a lot of feature stories. Anything coming up soon?
Yeah. I just had one today on a guy named Bill Tola, I think I pronounced it right, from Bemidji State. Okay. Offensive line, he graduated from Mounds View, but... senior offensive lineman at Bemidji State, he's a biochemistry major who discovered a new virus that through all the research and testing and all the things they do, that the school and the researchers are hopeful that someday might be his virus might be able to be used in treatments for tuberculosis.
Seriously?
And he since it was a novel virus, a new virus, never been cataloged, he got to name it. He named it Jant. After Justin Jefferson and Anthony.
Oh, come on.
I'm not kidding.
You've got to be kidding me.
The story's in the paper today.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for coming in and helping us. Always appreciate it. Love having you in. We'll have you in not long from now if you do it again. That's Chip Scoggins. You can see his stuff in Star Tribune in Minnesota, or as I like to call the Fish Wrap Factory on the west side. Short break. Come back with more. Mark Rosen joins us next here on The Fan.